The movie begins by showing an event in 1641 in prison in the Kingdom of France. A middle-aged man named James McCullen was locked up for his crime of selling weapons to the enemy and creating chaos in the kingdom. One night, James was dragged out by the guards to be executed. Knowing he was about to die, he vowed that his descendants would carry on his idealism of creating chaos on Earth. During his execution, James was forced to wear a smoldering iron mask. 360 years later, a man named James McCullen was in the NATO building, presenting the nanomites weapon his company, Mars Industries, developed. With funding from NATO, nanotechnology was developed into a weapon capable of destroying hard metals. With the sophistication of this technology, James explained that nanomites can destroy a city in an instant, and nanomites can also be controlled remotely. He informed that the first nanotech products would be shipped from the Kyrgyzstan factory and stored in NATO warehouses. The next day, 4 nanomites bombs located at the Mars Industries factory were put into a suitcase and then handed over to NATO forces led by Duke and Ripcord. On the way, a mysterious aircraft approaches and shoots the helicopter escorting the group. The group of NATO soldiers then tried to immobilize the aircraft by firing several missiles, but the attack did not seem to work. Instead, with its advanced technology, the mysterious aircraft could destroy several cars of the group of NATO soldiers and paralyze them before the plane finally landed. An armed force led by a woman emerged from the mysterious airplane. It began attacking the remaining NATO soldiers using sophisticated weapons until, finally, the woman managed to obtain a briefcase containing nanomites. Duke, who realized that the nanomite suitcase had been stolen, immediately tried to retrieve the suitcase. However, after seeing the group leader, Duke recognized the woman and found out that the woman was named Anna. Unfortunately, Anna suddenly attacked Duke and tried to escape from there. Soon after, another mysterious army suddenly attacked Anna's army. With sophisticated weaponry, the mysterious army finally paralyzed Anna's troops, so Anna was forced to release the nanomite suitcase and immediately flee the place. On the other hand, Duke immediately secured the suitcase. After Anna's troops were driven away, the mysterious troops asked Duke to hand over the nanomite suitcase he was carrying. Duke then refused the request because NATO assigned him to guard the suitcase to its destination. To convince Duke that they were not the enemy, one of the squad members displayed a hologram of General Hawk, the NATO commander, who asked Duke to hand over the suitcase so that the tracking device inside was deactivated. Duke refused the request and asked the squad to join him in guarding the suitcase. Duke and Ripcord finally join the mysterious army after the tracker in the suitcase is deactivated and fly to a secret bunker known as the Pit in the Egyptian desert. Once there, General Hawk welcomes Duke and Ripcord, who then explains that he leads a secret military team called G.I. Joe, which consists of the best soldiers from 23 countries in the world. In a room, James, who was contacting the G.I. Joe through a holographic device, was angry that he didn't get any news about the delivery of the 4 nanomites bombs. Since James didn't want the delivery mission to fail, he asked one of the squad members to open the nanomite suitcase. After telling the code to open the suitcase and confirming that the 4 nanomites bombs were still in good condition, James immediately ended his hologram communication. James looked angry at Anna in the submarine, who had failed to get the nanomite suitcase. James apparently asked Anna and her troops to steal the nanomite suitcase from the hands of NATO troops so that he could get the nanomites without being suspected. James explained that he had asked G.I. Joe to open the suitcase so that now the tracking device in the suitcase was active again, and he could find out the location of the suitcase in the Egyptian desert. Not long after, James ordered Anna and Storm Shadow to immediately seize the nanomite suitcase from the hands of the G.I. Joe troops. He also asked another of his men named Zartan to prepare to head to a base under the sea. When they arrived at the headquarters, a scientist named the Doctor presented the results of his research to James. From that research, the Doctor had managed to create a special force consisting of people injected with nanomites liquid so that the troops knew no fear or pain. With nanomites in their bodies, the special forces, named Cobra troops, can be controlled remotely. After hearing all the Doctor's explanations, James asked him to send the troops to help Anna and Storm Shadow, who were about to seize the briefcase containing the nanomites bomb at G.I. Joe's headquarters. In addition, inside the underwater headquarters, James has prepared 3 nanomites missiles to attack Beijing, Moscow, and Washington as weapons to conquer the world. Meanwhile, in the pit, Duke asks General Hawk to allow him to join the G.I. Joe squad because he knows Anna, the leader of the mysterious squad that tried to steal the nanomite suitcase earlier. In Paris, Anna returned to her house and met her husband, Daniel, who seemed worried because while Anna was away, she never gave him the news. Anna tried to persuade her husband not to be angry, and after her husband left the room, Storm Shadow, who was hiding there, then appeared and threatened Anna not to waste time and immediately carry out their mission. That night, Anna opened a ring box that reminded her of when Duke proposed to her at a party 4 years ago. At that time, Anna's younger brother Rex, a military scientist, witnessed Duke giving a ring to his older sister. Anna said that she would accept Duke's proposal on the condition that he takes care of her younger brother during the mission that Duke and Rex were about to undertake. Duke then promised Anna that he would protect and bring Rex home safely. In the present, Heavy Duty is explaining how to use some of the advanced weapons used by the G.I. Joe troops to Duke and Ripcord. Not only that, but before Duke and Ripcord joined the Special Forces, they had to go through several exercises to prove they were worthy of being part of the troops. A few days later, the results of the training that had been carried out, Heavy Duty announced that Duke and Ripcord had satisfactory results so that they could both join the G.I. Joe troops. At night, when all the troop members were resting, a vehicle with a giant drilling machine broke into one of the sides of the pit. Anna, Storm Shadow, Zartan, and a group of Cobra troopers exited the vehicle. After they take out one of the patrolling G.I. Joe troops, Zartan disguises himself as a G.I. Joe troop and finds General Hawk's room to attack him. Meanwhile, Anna and Storm Shadow tried to open the safe and retrieve the suitcase containing the nanomites bomb. The helpless General Hawk tried with his remaining strength to turn on the emergency alarm so that all the troops inside the pit immediately rushed to thwart the actions of Anna and her colleagues by destroying the drill vehicle. On the other hand, Cobra troops went to the pit control room and tried to help Anna and others escape. When Anna and Storm Shadow were preparing to escape using a jetpack, Duke tried to block them, but without Duke realizing it, one of the Cobra troops was behind him and tried to attack him. Luckily, Ripcord arrived to attack the Cobra troops and save Duke. As the situation became more chaotic, Anna and Storm Shadow managed to escape, but Snake Eyes blocked them, so Storm Shadow had to face Snake Eyes. While fighting Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow realized that the opponent in front of him was his childhood friend. Anna herself is now trying to escape through an elevator, but Scarlet blocks her, so the two of them fight. Storm Shadow, who had managed to ride a jetpack, then took Anna and carried the suitcase of nanomites out of the pit and into the mysterious plane waiting for them above. After the incident, Ripcord immediately checked Scarlet's condition after finding out that she was injured from fighting with Anna. On the other hand, Snake Eyes remembers his past when he was a child and lived in Tokyo and stole food from a temple. However, his action was caught by Storm Shadow, and he beat Snake Eyes. Luckily, a monk, the leader of the temple, came to a stop at the fight and invited Snake Eyes to join the martial arts training in the temple. Switching to the present, inside James' headquarters, he orders Anna and Storm Shadow to take the suitcase of nanomites and activate one of the bombs in Paris as his first act of terror and to avenge his past. In another room, the doctor injects nanomites into Zartan's body so that the doctor can change Zartan's face. Inside the pit, Duke and the others suspected James was the mastermind of all the attacks. Moments later, in a room, Breaker explains that he has found out some information about Anna, including her status, who is now married to Daniel, a scientist who can accelerate the development of a particle. They all suspected that Anna would meet Daniel to activate the nanomites bomb, so they immediately flew to Daniel's laboratory location in Paris. Duke, who was on his way to Paris, suddenly remembered the events 4 years ago when he was on a mission with Rex. At that time, Rex was killed when he entered a laboratory that exploded after being hit by a fighter plane. A few days later, Rex's funeral was held, and Duke, who felt guilty, did not dare to show his face in front of Anna until now. Meanwhile, Anna and Storm Shadow forcibly entered Daniel's laboratory in Paris, forcing him to activate all the nanomites bombs in the suitcase. At the same time, the G.I. Joe troops were ready in a van heading to Daniel's laboratory. Meanwhile, Daniel, who had successfully activated all the nanomites bombs, was killed by Storm Shadow. While on the road, the G.I. Joe troops spotted Anna and Storm Shadow's movements, so they immediately chased Anna, who was about to detonate the nanomites at the Eiffel Tower. On the other hand, Anna managed to shoot Scarlet, who was chasing her car, until Scarlet was thrown from her motorcycle. Luckily, Ripcord, not far from there, immediately saved Scarlet. Duke and Ripcord then chased Anna's car, which continued firing shots at them. On the other hand, Snake Eyes managed to sneak under Anna's car and shoot the car's tires, but his attempt failed, so he got away from the car. Suddenly, a fast train hit Anna's car, and it exploded. Unexpectedly, Anna and Storm Shadow survived the accident, and they quickly attached a nanomites bomb to a rocket launcher before Storm Shadow and Anna headed to a building nearby the Eiffel Tower. Duke, who saw Anna in the elevator, immediately chased after her. On the other hand, Ripcord tried to stop Storm Shadow. Unfortunately, while Ripcord was attempting to block the action, Storm Shadow managed to fire a nanomites bomb toward the Eiffel Tower so that the activated nanomites particles began to destroy the tower. After Anna and Duke were on the roof of a building, Duke tried to snatch the nanomites remote control from Anna, who was about to board the plane. Finally, Duke managed to catch up with Anna and get into the plane before finally pressing the controller button to disable the nanomites destroying the Eiffel Tower. Although the nanomites particles have been deactivated, the damage that has been done made the Eiffel Tower collapse. On the other hand, Breaker, who found one of the corpses of Cobra's troops, tried to retrieve the memory impulses in the corpse's brain. Unfortunately, while the data retrieval was done, the doctor immediately controlled the nanomites inside the corpse's body to self-destruct. Luckily, Breaker had saved some of the data from the corpse. Moments later, French military forces captured Breaker, Scarlet, and Heavy Duty, while Snake Eyes managed to hide and escape the capture. While the G.I. Joe members were locked up, General Hawk came to meet them and explained that the French government was willing to release them because they could not enter France forever. On the plane, Duke, who was now a hostage, apologized to Anna for the events that happened 4 years ago and explained his reasons why he had not seen Anna all this time. Meanwhile, Storm Shadow recalled his childhood when Snake Eyes defeated him in a fight, and the monk congratulated and called Snake Eyes the best fighter. At that time, Storm Shadow was very upset and left the temple. The next day, Snake Eyes saw Storm Shadow running away after he killed the monk. Afterward, Breaker, now in the hangar of the G.I. Joe troop plane, tells his colleagues about the memory data he got to find the location of the headquarters of James and his troops in the North Pole region. On the other hand, Anna and Storm Shadow, who had just arrived at the North Pole, took Duke through a tunnel. When the enemy was caught off guard, Duke attempted to grab the suitcase of nanomites, and Storm Shadow immediately paralyzed Duke, who was trying to escape. Although Duke was recaptured, he activated the nanomite suitcase tracker so his colleagues could know his location. Moments later, Duke is brought into the secret Mars Industries headquarters under the ice. Duke then tried to attack James, who provoked him, so James' men beat Duke. Anna, who saw the incident, suddenly remembered her beautiful memories with Duke in the past. Meanwhile, in the airplane, other G.I. Joe troops have arrived at the location of Mars Industries' secret headquarters and are preparing to disembark. Back at the secret base, James takes Duke to see the doctor who created the nanomites. The doctor appears to place the activated nanomites bomb inside a missile that has been prepared to attack 3 major world cities to create chaos. At the same time, the G.I. Joe troops finally arrived at an ice tunnel and immediately paralyzed the guards there. On the other hand, the doctor, who plans to inject nanomites into Duke's body, takes off the mask he has been wearing, and it is revealed that the doctor is Rex, Anna's younger brother, who Duke thought had died in the incident 4 years ago. Rex explains that while in the lab, he met Dr. Mindbender, who first discovered nanomites. Shortly before the explosion, the two managed to save themselves, and now Rex is perfecting the research to create nanomites technology. After the preparation process was complete, James finally launched 3 missiles carrying nanomites warheads. Snake Eyes, still around the tunnel, saw the missiles and shot one of them so that it could be blown up before reaching the targeted city. After seeing this, Storm Shadow realized that G.I. Joe's troops had found out about Mars Industries' secret base, so he and Cobra's troops began to prepare. On the other hand, Anna is increasingly reminded of her past with Duke, which makes her confused. At the White House, the President of the United States was seen being picked up by a group of people who asked him to immediately enter the secret bunker because a missile was known to be heading towards Washington. Meanwhile, Ripcord got into an airplane to stop the missile launch while the rest of the troops went into James' secret headquarters. Anna, who has remembered all her memories, then enters the doctor's room and attacks him so that she can save Duke, who will be injected with nanomites. When Duke looked at Anna's neck, he saw a sign that Anna had been injected with nanomites. On the other hand, the doctor, who was still conscious, immediately paralyzed Anna using the nanomites' remote control and threatened Duke that he would kill Anna if he put up a fight. 4 years ago, when Rex saw Anna slumped after Duke's departure, he decided to inject nanomites into Anna's body so that she would submit to him. In another room within the base, Snake Eyes and the rest of the squad were seen making their way into the secret Mars Industries base. Meanwhile, General Hawk, on the main submarine, ordered Heavy Duty to take his troops to attack the enemy's underwater base.
Break formation.
Stay tight. Here they come.
In the attack, Cobra's troops intercepted them, so an underwater battle took place. After making it into the base, Snake Eyes and others entered the missile control room to direct Ripcord, still in the plane, to chase one of the missiles. Meanwhile, at the White House, the President of the United States is being directed by several guards to enter a bunker made by Mars Industries. At the same time, the submarine belonging to G.I. Joe's troops was attacked by Cobra troops, so General Hawk ordered Heavy Duty to destroy the enemy cannon immediately. James, who was now cornered, tried to burn Duke, but Duke managed to survive after he shot using the advanced gun of the G.I. Joe troops so that the fire led to James and burned him. Because of this, the doctor is also knocked down, and Duke finally manages to pick up the throne controller and immediately wakes Anna up. On the other hand, the doctor immediately took James away from there. Ripcord, still on the plane, finally managed to destroy one missile before reaching his destination. After that, he directed his plane towards another missile heading towards Washington. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, a presidential staff suddenly shot several bodyguards of the President of the United States. Not long after, from a secret door came out a man who surprised the president when he saw him. At the Mars Industries headquarters, Snake Eyes finally managed to disable the cannon attacking the submarine belonging to the G.I. Joe troops. At the same time, Storm Shadow attacked him, so the two fought there. Meanwhile, the Doctor brought the injured James into a submarine to escape. Duke and Anna immediately got into another submarine to chase the Doctor and James. Snake Eyes seemed to be still fighting with Storm Shadow until finally, Snake Eyes was able to defeat Storm Shadow. Meanwhile, when the missile almost reached Washington, Ripcord managed to stop the missile. However, the nanomites that had been activated finally attacked the plane, so Ripcord then directed the plane that had been covered in nanomites into space and managed to save himself using the ejection seat just before the plane exploded. At the North Pole, the Doctor, who has been pushed back, asks his men to destroy the ice slab above the base so that the base slowly begins to disintegrate after the explosion. Scarlet, Breaker, and Snake Eyes make their way to the elevator to escape the explosion after riding the elevator to the surface. The Doctor, who was in the submarine, injected nanomites into James' burned body, turning James' head into iron and giving him the new nickname Destro. The Doctor also injected nanomites into his body, and he now has the nickname Cobra Commander. Shortly after, G.I. Joe forces surrounded the submarine, and Destro and Cobra Commander were captured and put in a special prison. The scientists later informed Duke that they needed a long time to remove the nanomites inside Anna's body. Duke then told Anna he would do whatever it took to save the woman he loved. The movie ends by showing Duke and Ripcord, who has officially become part of the G.I. Joe army and appear to be on a secret mission. Meanwhile, in the White House, the President of the United States, who was in his room, was seen acting like someone else. The moral message that we can learn from this movie is that knowledge without good morals will bring destruction.